North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and the ESPN Wisconsin app. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's John Audius.
And welcome to the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. I'm John Audius, joined by Wisconsin volleyball coach Kelly Sheffield, as the team is back in the UW Fieldhouse this weekend after spending a couple of matches on the road, one in State College and then the other one in College Park, Maryland. So, Kelly, obviously on Friday night, it was Penn State in 3 sets, handing your team its first conference loss of the season. What did you learn from watching the tape against the Nittany Lions?
That it was an off match. It was an off night in a lot of different ways. I'm not sure we went into that place as aggressively minded as what we needed to be. What going on the road demands in this conference. What going into a place that we've only won 3 times in our program's history. I've got a trivia question regarding that here in a second for you.
Okay.
There was a lot of things to learn there. I'm sure it's frustrating for people. I know our team was a little frustrated, but but then you take a look, and I mean that's a lot of people on this team that are experiencing playing there for the first time, experiencing a weekend road trip, multiple back-to-back games on the road. Most, good portion of our team have never even done that. And so it was, I think we were all a little frustrated, a little disappointed with how things went. I think once they kind of got about halfway through the first set, you could tell that there was a different energy going on the other side of the net, that they were like, oh man, all right, we have this. And, because their previous 2 matches, they got hammered by Nebraska and then squeaked out a 5-setter against Maryland, and they were hovering just above 500. So I'm sure a lot of doubts were entering their heads. And they came in, and I'm not sure we went in with a fight that was necessary. Anytime you say that, anytime I hear myself say that, it always starts with me. The question of what could you have done different to get your team ready for that. But sometimes you just got to experience it. And we had a deep dive into a film afterwards the next day. Watched a lot of that Penn State match, which is highly unusual for us. The day between 2 matches is the focus on what just happened. But we took that opportunity to really dig in deep and show the team. And then we got outside and spent a little bit of time outside on a walk, got some fresh air, and then went right back in the film room and switched over. All right, now we're watching film on Maryland. So it was a busy day on Saturday. I mean, it was, we got 2 different film sessions in. We got a serve and pass, and our team spent a couple hours with the Under Armour folks who are headquartered out there with their product design team. So it was a busy day. It was a needed day. And I thought it was a day that there was a lot of growth on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. And then you come back on Sunday and you're able to beat Maryland in 3, kind of after a slow start there in the first couple of sets of that match.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let me stop here. All right.
Did you have trivia?
The trivia question, because I have to deal with the Penn State before we move on.
Yeah.
I asked Lauren Carlini this question. So we've only won there 3 times. We've had some great battles. Unfortunately, Friday was not one of them, but we've had some amazing battles there. But we've only had 3 wins. One player has been a part of 2 of the wins. Do you know who that player is?
One player has been part of 2 of the wins. So they'll probably be 18 and 22 were the 2 most recent wins. Yeah. 22 and was Anne Marie Hickey back in 18? It was 18. I don't even know when she.
Holy smokes, John!
I don't remember. When did she get here?
2010 to 2013.
No. I mean, when did she join staff?
Oh, whoa. No, the player because I want this to be good radio and not have long, awkward pauses for everybody.
Okay.
I gave plenty of time for the listeners to come up with their name. And if you said Danielle Hart, you are correct.
I was thinking, I thought you were like tricking me and being like, she was on staff. And then for both of them, I don't know.
John, I thought it was a pretty straight up question.
No, I failed miserably. What did Lauren say?
She did not have an answer.
Okay. I should have just stuck with that. Okay. Thank you for that trivia question. All right, back to the volleyball. Sunday against Maryland, a 3-set win, slow start in the first and second sets against the Terrapins. But what did you think of Addie Horner, I guess, in that match and kind of, I guess, her weekend that was?
Yeah. I mean, it was the second match was a lot better than the first. I thought the second match was truer to who she is than maybe the first. Certainly that Friday night wasn't all about her. I mean, that was a team effort or a team lack of effort, I would guess. But, her footwork was a lot cleaner on Sunday, which allowed for a little bit better connections. We got some really good serving from her on Sunday, which we know she's capable of really lighting it up. No, I thought it was a really, really good match for her. And, it was her first career win, as a starting setter. It was her second career match. And those are pretty, as you know, those were tough environments, we had a great fan support at the Maryland. I mean, it might have been 50-50, but regardless of that, it's loud. I mean, there was one time, there was a timeout, and I think Maryland called, and a play or two before that, there was a free ball that came over the net, and she took the free ball, which you do not want your setters handling the first contact on a free ball. You want them releasing to the net. And I asked her about it, and she said, Kelly, I didn't hear anybody else call it. And I asked the two people around her, I said, you guys call the ball? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, you need to call a little bit louder in this gym, and let that be clear. And, but that was some of these gyms that we get into, it's like that. Penn State, it was like that. Maryland is definitely like that. And so those are the environments she walked in. It kind of makes you think about, Charlie's first environments last year in the Fiserv against Texas and Stanford. I mean, those are, on Fox TV, right? I mean, those are some massive things. And, both of this weekend, we're on Big Ten Network. Addie knows everybody that is watching. We've got 5 freshmen that are going through it. At one point in the Maryland match, we had 5 freshmen in Una and Tosha. 4 freshmen, Una and Tosha out there. None of them had played in a Big Ten match before this year. And so we're really young in positions, but what I love is that they're learning. They're just taking stuff in and learning quickly.
And then finally, before we move on, and I know we're going to talk our next segment a little bit about the Big Ten Conference in general, but any update on Charlie Furbringer with the shoulder injury? What can you tell us?
I try not to be coy with our answers. There's just so much that you can tell, right? That you do have laws that you have to go by, and the players have the right to privacy, and not having a discussion. But but the answer around, without getting in specifics, is we just don't know. I'm hoping, we're all hoping that we get her back this year, but that's not a guarantee, man. It's not. And she is not practicing, but she is getting better and healthier. She's working really hard on her rehab. She's trying to be a great leader and support system for our team. She's kept her spirits up, which have been incredible. She's helping guide Addie and helping us with her. She's doing everything that she can. We're just so, I love coaching her. And hopefully we're going to be able to get her back and be able to help us elevate things. But for the time being, I think we're in really good hands right now with what we've got. And, and I think you're asking that, and it's, where are things with our others? Grace Egan is, I think, getting really close. She's starting to do a little bit of stuff in practice right now. I don't know if we're going to have her this weekend or not, but we're getting pretty darn close. Hopefully, a player we haven't discussed is Trinity. I mean, we haven't had her all season. One third of our scholarships players are out, and that's kind of a tough deal. So hopefully we're able to get her back at some point. Grace Lopez, no, she's not going to be playing this year, but she's getting better every week as well.
All right. Thank you for that answer, Kelly. When we come back on the Kelly Sheffield Show, it's UCLA and USC this weekend at the Fieldhouse, plus a look at the Big Ten Conference. And later on in our final segment, questions from you, the fans. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. Welcome back. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I'm John Audius, joined by Wisconsin head coach Kelly Sheffield. Your fan questions coming up in just a little bit. So you're back at home this weekend. Before we talk about UCLA and USC, the two teams on Friday and Sunday, what are your thoughts right now on the Big Ten Conference? Your team is in a tie for second, trailing Nebraska in the conference standings. What's kind of jumping out to you about this league so far?
John, in preseason, there was quite a few times you look at some of the results with some of the conference teams, and you're like, God, that is just a bad loss for our conference, and this. But where we stand today, Big Ten has 11 of the top 30 RPI teams. I mean, more than a third of the top 30 in the RPI are Big Ten teams. I think the SEC has 4. The ACC has 5. I think the Big 12 has 7. So we're as a league, we put ourselves in pretty good position to be really well represented in the NCAA tournament. I'd say right now, Nebraska's been obviously playing a pretty clean game, which you'd expect with so many returners, so many matches amongst that. They just don't have a lot of youth. They've had a lot of people that have been together. We've had some of those years, so they've probably done a little bit of separation. There's going to be some incredible battles that as we're moving forward. Some awesome stuff this weekend. UCLA. They've got 4 top 25 wins. We've got 2. They've got 4. This is a really, really legit team that have played a pretty challenging schedule. USC, extremely talented. They're also young. They're also a young team. I think people forget how young we are when you see Mimi and Carter, but our team is really young. The league is really young, and but I think there's going to be some awesome, like Michigan State sweeping IU. I don't know, what the Vegas odds were for that, but I'm sure the Spartans weren't favored on that. You're going to see a ton of that stuff here down the stretch. It's going to be really compelling. Home courts are going to be really important. Getting fans support and make it tough, because this is going to be a battle all the way to the last day.
Yeah, UCLA Friday night at 7. You can catch that on the ESPN Madison 2 online channel. On the ESPN Wisconsin app, will be on the air on ESPN Milwaukee for that one too, and I believe ESPN Beaver Dam on Friday. Then Sunday against USC, you can catch that on 620 WTMJ in Milwaukee. Will be on an ESPN Madison, and then also ESPN Beaver Dam. You mentioned Carter and Mimi real quick here too. I wanted to squeeze this in before we take some questions from the fans. Did you sub out Carter and Mimi at Maryland, and what was the kind of the rationale behind that?
Oh, I don't know. It's when you're not playing real well as a coach, you do everything at your disposal, right? And and then you kind of take some mental notes of maybe what works and what doesn't. But obviously, I didn't think we came out of the gates playing particularly well. Not putting that on their two's plates, but although they are leaders, it's I could have subbed myself out because that was for a second match in a row that I'm not sure we came out with the necessary aggression that I would have liked to have seen. But we called an early timeout, let the team discuss. I'm not sure that really kind of moved the dial the way that I was kind of hoping. And and I wasn't interested in having the some of the younger players start doubting themselves. So we made that move. And but the thing that I told them afterwards, that's not the coolest part. The coolest part is afterwards we got in the locker room and I told the rest of the team, I said, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember Carter and Mimi's reaction to being subbed out. They're both All-Americans and they got subbed out. But how they responded to that. They didn't throw tantrums. They didn't go, isolate themselves. They didn't go off on me. They responded. All right. They put together great matches. They were team first. They were team oriented. They came out. They were cheering on the people that were in there. I said, that's, it should be automatic. It should be, that doesn't happen everywhere. That doesn't happen at every school. That doesn't happen with every All-American. And I said, I want you to remember that because the best players in this program, they're team first and they're humble and they respond the right way. And that was a really cool moment. And everybody on the team really acknowledged that and appreciated that. And that was my big takeaway.
All right. Keep it right here. More on the Kelly Sheffield Show, including fan questions coming up next. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. John Oddie is joined by Wisconsin head coach Kelly Sheffield. Okay, so I put out a post on X every week asking for fan questions for the head coach. Coach, here's some of the ones we got in this week for this show. So Jordan wants to know, with the upcoming match against UCLA, that's a former Badger Lola Schumacher back to the field house since she transferred. What does it feel like playing against a team that has someone who once played for the Badgers?
I mean, I'm happy for her. She's I think she's at a place that is a really good fit. She's clearly helping them out. I don't know. She was a very important player for us last year, and really enjoy her a lot. And but sometimes for different reasons, people leave your program and leave other programs and come here. When you're talking about people that are 18, 19, 20, 21, years old, is, for me, I want them to have a good experience. This time in college is 4 years. And so, I want players who come in like Grace Egan to have a great experience, or Grace Lopez to have a great experience. And I want players like Lola or Sage or Gigi. I want them, if they decide for whatever reason, or decisions are made where they're going to go somewhere else, then you want it to be great for them. I don't want them to not have a great experience. I want them. I want their play to be elevated. Now, certainly not against us, but but it's all, you want good things because these are people that you were assigned with. You care. You don't just stop caring about them just because you're not coaching them.
All right. Allison asks, when you are trying to get a new experienced player like Horner up to speed in a short amount of time, how do you make decisions about priorities and practice, running the offense versus connections with hitters versus floor defense versus blocking? She writes, so many things, so little time.
You're right, but there's an element of, we're also looking at the development of their career, right? And so there's a little bit more of a drink out of the fire hose when you're starting. But she was responsible for knowing the game plans even when she wasn't starting. She was responsible for working on the connections with her setter or with her hitters before she was starting, all those types of things, just becoming a well-rounded best player that she could be. But she's certainly getting a lot more reps with her people that are starting, and you're trying to work on those connections. But yeah, I would say for us, when it's the setter position, you're spending more of your time from the offensive side than anything else, and working on those connections, continue to make sure the fundamentals can hold strong in some of these environments and some of these situations that you're in.
Kenny asks, and it takes us back to Friday, what can you take away from Mimi's struggles against Penn State to keep her involved, or what did Penn State do to shut her down?
I don't know. Look, they played a great match. I'm not sure it was a whole lot of what, personally, going back and watching the film, that it was them against Mimi. I think it was more on our side of the net. And it's one match out of I don't know how many we've played. She's had an amazing season. That was not a particularly strong match for her. She wasn't alone in that boat. That was pretty much the same for about all of us. But when she's having the productive year that she's had, you're kind of, it stands out more than it does with some other people. And I'm sure there was a narrative about her and Kennedy Martin going head to head. But yeah, I mean, she had to face it and own it and move on and move forward and continue to get better. And that's every elite player I've had has had matches like that. And it's not about that match. It's always about how you respond, is how we talk about it.
Big Al asks, huge Madison Quest fan. He says she will be a future All-American. How will coach handle playing time with Egan's return?
I don't know. I don't handle it, I guess. John, I honestly I don't care who plays. I really don't. Not just with them, but anybody on our team. I care that they reach their potential. It'll get itself figured out during the practice, and in matches. All those things will kind of will play itself out, and how players take care of themselves throughout the season, how they progress through the season. Are they able to stay healthy? Are they able to, but different people throughout the season. You see some people during a season, they get stronger and they go, and others just everything kind of wears them down. And so I don't know, but it's curious. We right now we don't have a lot of depth in that is playing right now. And it'd be nice to be able to get some players back to be able to have some of these options. But Mad Dog has been doing a great job. I think she had 400 this weekend, some really nice shots. She served a lot better on Sunday than she did on Friday. Didn't block enough balls. Would have liked to seen her get her hands. She's right now a little bit better blocker on the left side than the right side. Doesn't have quite the arm that a Grace does, but she can get the ball, and she works the entire court beautifully. I'm excited to see how all of our players continue to progress, and whether it's Grace or Quest, I don't look at it as a head-to-head battle, because I wouldn't be surprised either one of them find their way on the left. We just need our players to continue to develop and get better.
All right. Final question for you. This was actually from a couple of weeks ago, but Mike asks, can I get an autograph when they visit Champaign on the 15th of November?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. He said, okay, there you go, Mike. He says, yeah. All right. Just wanted to get Mike hooked up. All right, Kelly.
If that's not a compelling radio, I don't know what is.
I know, right? Great question there. All right, Kelly. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. There you go. Badgers take on UCLA on Friday. You can hear it at 7. That's on the ESPN Madison 2 on the Wisconsin Badgers, or excuse me, on the ESPN Wisconsin app. Also on ESPN Milwaukee on Friday night. We go to WTMJ on Sunday against USC, and back on 100.5 ESPN Madison. All right. This has been the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse.